So let's dive in to what I think it's not an overstatement to say this is the biggest technology transformation in human history that we're at the dawn of. And that's a big, audacious statement. I'm going to try to share some of the observation points that I think support that bold statement. I have 3 points for you this morning. The first one, AI is a big deal, and that's an understatement. It's a big, big deal. It's going to change pretty much everything. Secondly, there are risks, and you need to consider those. Any new technology always brings risk. With great power comes great responsibility and great risks. And that's certainly going to be the case. We'll contemplate a few of those. So in my 40-year career, I've seen a few tech revolutions. Back in the 80s, the big tech revolution, I would say, was microcomputers, built on top of integrated circuits and transistors and all of that foundational tech. But microcomputers, starting with the Apple Mac, when they really took off is when they became easy to use. When the Mac popularized the GUI, the graphical user interface, and then in Windows 95 came out in the early 90s, that's what made it easy to use. And it was used, the microcomputers were now suddenly used everywhere. Another big revolution came out in the 90s, and I think most of us were around then to recall the internet. And if you see that really sharp increase in when the internet, this is the number of internet hosts, when that really exploded was right after the birth of the World Wide Web. And if you recall, what made that new and different was that instead of arcane IP addresses and Unix commands and all of the very challenging technology that it took to access it, it was pictures, and you click on buttons with your mouse, and your browser, which was free, could open the world to anywhere, and you didn't even know where what computer was serving your request. But it was when it became accessible. Another tech revolution, mobile telephony, smartphones. Mobile phones had been around for years, but it wasn't until Apple released the iPhone and created the App Store that all of a sudden it became very accessible, very easy to use. And now we went from only the rich having smartphones, 86% as of last year, 86% of the world's population has a smartphone. And so those are world-changing technologies. And so I came up with a little rubric to assess what accounts for a tech revolution. And so I propose there's 3 things. It needs to have a broad impact. It needs to affect a lot of different areas, not just a niche. It needs to be very accessible, easy to use. Otherwise, it can't achieve the third goal, which is to be scalable. So for microcomputers, yeah, no question. It covers pretty much everything. It's hard to get most jobs done without some sort of computer access. Very accessible, easy to use, tablets, the graphical user interfaces, all of that made it easy to use. And then scalable. They're sold in the billions. Same thing on the internet. Pretty much all of humanity, most of humanity is now connected to the Internet of Things, all the mobile devices. It's changing everything. Our home appliances are now connected to the internet. Smartphones, same thing. 86% of the world has them. I'm sure 100% of this audience has one. And then it begs the question, okay, well, how does AI stack up on this scale for being a transformative technology revolution? So let's dive into it. First, quick pause. What is AI? It's thrown around. Everybody hears it, but what does it mean? The term came out a long time ago, back in the 50s. And it's generally meant to be the ability of machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. But as you'll see, that's been a moving target over the years. Why is everybody now talking about AI? Well, just in the past year or so, there have been some advances that have kind of brought everything together, and then we've had an explosion. One of the things, I'll hope to explain a few terms you've probably heard. It used to be AI was compartmentalized. And so you'd have computer vision, speech recognition, robotics, image recognition and generation. All of those were kind of separate areas. Well, there was a big breakthrough just a few years ago, and it was a realization, if you digitize these things, they're all just a language. So that means you can now use the same algorithm. And so what the algorithm that's being used is a simple transformer. It's not that big. I built one 33 years ago. In fact, that was how I made the transition from aerospace to finance, because I was working on a neural network model, and I had like 36 parameters in the model. ChatGPT has over 1 trillion. And so that was the third part of it, the transformation that's occurred, and that is the size. And what happened, what was discovered, as these models got larger, all of a sudden properties started to emerge. And the quality of these tools was just staggering. Do you remember when DALL-E came out a little over a year ago? Do you remember when ChatGPT burst onto the scenes a little over a year and a half ago? All of those things just kind of exploded seemingly out of nowhere, but they're all based on these simple principles that it's all language. You hear, what do you hear now? LLMs. That's large language model. ChatGPT. GPT is an acronym. Generative pre-trained transformer. And so it's using relatively simple model, but it's gotten huge, and all of a sudden the power just became breathtaking. Okay, so that's a little bit about it, but what can it do? Let's fly through this. Medical diagnoses. A lot of the different medical diagnoses are becoming better with AI than in human. And it's in a fraction of a second. And guess what? AI never has a bad day, never is sleep deprived. Whatever may diminish a human's performance, AI is not affected. Education. This is what excites me most about the promise and potential of AI, of what it can do to help with education, which, guess what? There's going to be a greater need than ever before, because so much of our knowledge is being rewritten or obsoleted. We need to learn new things. So we're going to have to embrace new tools. If you want to watch a great TED Talk, Sal Khan, the founder of Khan Academy, gave a really inspiring talk last year, and it was how AI can save, not destroy, education. So many ways that it will personalize and improve what a student, whether it's a child or an adult, goes through to learn something. AI is also going to let us get very personalized with everything from medicines that we have. This is a fun one, Udly. It lets you practice one of humanity's greatest fears, public speaking. It lets you practice it. It'll record you, and then it gives you feedback on how you did in a very low-stakes way, but it lets you practice it. Programming. My background is computer programming. AI, pretty much every developer uses AI in some form or fashion now. And they're already starting to measure actual results. It's like a 2x speed up. That means that instead of doing the work of one, I now do the work of two. Well, that's the way innovation always works. It makes something faster, cheaper, easier, better, or all the above. And we're seeing that in what we used to think of was a very intellectually demanding profession that would be hard to automate. Nope. Still, humans still take it to the finished level, but it's amazing what it's doing. One of the great thought leaders in soft development is Kent Beck. He talks about software engineering as a field very widely followed. He sent this tweet out last year. He said, I've been reluctant to try ChatGPT. Today I got over that reluctance. Now I understand why I was reluctant. The value of 90% of my skills just dropped to zero. The leverage for the remaining 10% went up by 1,000. I need to recalibrate. Again, that's what always happens with technology. When big innovations hit, it's now the people that have the leverage that know how to use the new tool. That's when their skills now become far more valuable. And that's a giant gold rush that's going on right now, because people that know how to use these tools are going to be far more effective, far more productive. More on that in a moment. College ready. ChatGPT's performance on our high-stakes standardized tests that give access to higher education, it's at the top of the scale. For instance, the GRE, the graduate record exam. So this is college graduates who want to go to graduate college. So they're kind of the best of the best. ChatGPT on the verbal score, they're in the 99th percentile. And the smaller number, 63rd, that was one version earlier. One version from 3.5 to 4.0 on ChatGPT, it jumped that much. The bar exam, ChatGPT can outperform 90% of the aspiring attorneys that want to go to law school. That's where it is today. I love this curve. I don't know that it's very easy to interpret, but it shows across time where the machine performance, how long it takes to reach human level performance. That's what the white line, the 100% is. And it shows how quickly the progress has occurred in some of these recent areas. Code generation, pretty much it appeared and it vaulted to human level performance. Handwriting recognition, we've been working on that a lot of years. But it finally has crept up to now machines are better at it than humans. This is some of the area that I think AI is going to have its biggest impact. It's not using ChatGPT and a large language model. That's one use case. One of the things that AI lets us do is discover things and invent things profoundly faster than the conventional methods. And so you're seeing this in chemistry, the new battery technologies that we desperately need for an electrified future. Those are going to be discovered by AIs that will then get validated by the humans. But it's going to accelerate pretty much all of these fields. Biotech. This is one of my big fears about hopefully we don't get this wrong and somehow destroy humanity. You've heard of CRISPR and other technologies for gene editing. A lot of this is being managed by AI because the data sets are so large and complex. And so it's being used for amazing things like speeding up vaccine development, protein folding. Proteins are one of the magical base elements of life. It was very difficult to figure out because the way a protein folded affected everything. AI can now interpret that. There's always going to be two uses for new technology. One is going to be, how do we use it for violence, for war, so that we can beat our competitors? It's being used extensively in Ukraine. They're a smaller, much less resourced, outmanned, outgunned, but they're using AI as a big multiplier, from drone attacks to target selection to all sorts of different activities. This came out last year, and it sounds like clickbait, military to unleash thousands of autonomous war robots. Well, that sounds scary, over the next 2 years. But as you see, it was announced by the U.S. Deputy Secretary of Defense. That's not clickbait. That's how a lot of these tools are going to be used to wage war. Okay, well, those are some of the heavy ones. Let's look at a little bit lighter one. Video. This is less than a year ago, text to video. So you would give an AI some text and you tell it what you wanted to see, and then it would generate a video. This was about 10 months ago. This was Will Smith eating spaghetti, and this is what the video came up with.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot. Uncle Bill, come try this. Fresh pasta of Bel Air.
Well, that's just creepy. But they didn't have to film Will, and the computer built that very quickly. Just last week, OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT, released Sora. And it's Japanese for sky, like boundless and open. And hat tip to my buddy Kevin Anderson for putting me onto this. I was in the mountains in New Mexico with my 40-year anniversary wife, and it is phenomenal. Here's the prompt. This is all that it took to generate what you're about to see. A litter of golden retriever puppies playing in the snow. Their heads pop out of the snow, covered in. Look at what it generates. Shadows, the motion of the fur, the interaction between the puppies, the way the snow moves around. It'd never been created before. If you watch it again closely, you'll see one of the dogs has an extra paw for a second. So it's not 100%, but that blew my mind. And so I'm going to show you a couple more of those because it was just phenomenal. Drone view, waves crashing against the rugged cliffs along Big Sur's Garay Point Beach. Small island, beauty of the coast, rugged landscape. So this prompt was a little bit longer, short paragraph. Let's look at what it created, the drone view that it asked the AI to create. And I will say the screen's not doing it justice. This is full 1080p resolution, mind-blowing when you see the details of it. Here's another one. Beautiful, snowy Tokyo City is bustling. The camera moves through the bustling street, following several people. Gorgeous sakura petals are flying through the wind, along with snowflakes. Let's see what it rendered. How would you know this isn't a drone video following a couple walking through a Tokyo market? To set that up, we do a lot of videos at Next Thought. To set that up, that'd be many, many days of planning, thousands upon thousands of dollars of expenses. This one you do with a short paragraph, and if you like it, great. If you don't, throw it away and start over. So just in case you forgot or going to have nightmares tonight, less than a year ago, this is what a rendering of a human looked like. Let's look at this one. This is the last one. An extreme close-up of a gray-haired man with a beard in his 60s. brown beret with glasses, very professional appearance, Parisian streets and city in the background. You see people in the background, they've got bokeh, they're out of focus, tight close-up on this guy, cinematic feel just as described. It's just mind-blowing, and the guy doesn't exist. And it took the computer minutes to do that. So, back to our scorecard, broad impact. I think you got to say yes, unquestionably broad. Well, how about the next two, accessible and scalable? I'm going to answer those with one slide. Here's the amount of time it took ChatGPT, and this is just one. This is only one of the large language models, generative AIs. This is just one. And it set the record for fastest growth in history for any app. It took it 2 months. TikTok took 9 months. And you can see the others. The point is, the only way you have this kind of growth is if you're accessible and scalable. So yeah, no question. So I think it meets at least these criteria for this technology revolution we're witnessing. All right, let's get into the risks. What are some of the things that can happen? Humanity's last invention. That's one of the terms that's been used for AI. Be the last one we make. Name this movie 33 years ago. Terminator 2, Armageddon, I heard it. And so that's one of the dystopic fears, is that machines become conscious, they wage war on humans, and it doesn't seem like that's where we are at the moment. But there are a lot of very smart, technology-savvy people last year that called for a pause on ChatGPT and all of this stuff. And what's been done to pause AI progress so far? I used to, up till a couple of months ago, my answer was nothing. We've at least done a few White House press releases, a few other odds and ends, a little bit of posturing about we're going to be responsible and careful, and we put safeguards in place. But very little has been done. And again, that's kind of the way technology generally works, is the technology happens, and only then can you figure out, well, what are the ramifications, the unintended consequences, and that's when you'll run around and try to catch up. But I would say that AI is now inevitable. The genie's out of the bottle. It's not going back. It's inevitable. And the reasons for this, I think, are pretty profound reasons. And they're the same reasons why you should not ignore it. And the reasons are two simple words: productivity and power. And I put a little red explosion mark. There's a few slides in here that, if you're taking notes, I think this one's worthy of notes. Those two words are why I think AI is inevitable. And it's also out too far, and it's too easy. Unlike nuclear energy, which is very costly, very complex, very good points of control, this stuff's already open sourced. And while today it takes enormous compute resources, that is already plummeting. It's out there, it's not going back. Just to further make that point, this is a fundamental law of nature. It's how nature works. It's how businesses work. It's how nations work. Geopolitics. The most productive and the most powerful wins. Always. It makes this inevitable. And those that use it are going to be the ones that are going to win, survive, make more money. All these really powerful incentives. So we can ignore it or deny it. But again, you see in nature what happens in that case. I found this talk last year amazingly unwatched. It's on YouTube. Richard Baldwin's a professor. He shared this brief little clip at the World Economic Forum, but I thought he had great insights.
AI is essentially wisdom in a can. And so it's giving more power to all workers, but especially those average workers. So if you take an AI, for instance, and give it medical AI, and give it to a nurse, he or she is much more capable than they were before, the doctor too, a little bit. So I think this AI will be uplifting to the middle class because it's in essence the most expensive, most talented workers are people who have 20 years experience and know how to apply that. That's what AI does overnight. So I think it will be uplifting for the middle class. But it will be extremely disruptive in the sense that every job will change. There'll be automation of certain things, and everybody will learn how to deal with it. Or what I say on Twitter all the time is, AI won't take your job. It's somebody using AI that'll take your job.
Which I think that's a very profound statement and worth repeating. Hey, reassuring note, AI won't take your job. Someone using AI is going to take your job. That one got a red star as well. So other risks, hackers, cyber nightmares of all sorts. It weaponizes all the bad stuff. 1 year ago, Ars Technica reported this, that Microsoft's new AI can simulate anyone's voice after just 3 seconds of a sample. What happened 2 weeks ago? I don't know if you saw this in the news. There was a deep fake scammer that pulled off a $25 million heist from a Hong Kong bank. And they did it by having simulated bank officers on Zoom calls. And they didn't just do one, they did a couple of Zoom calls with the CFO. And the guy ended up wiring money as the scammers in their deep fake recommended. The notion of voice security should be gone. Imagine if the voice of one of my grandchildren called me on my phone and said, I'm at this place, this bad person's threatening to harm me. I wouldn't know that it wasn't Maddie or Abe. And so voice authentication, huge risks. And it's things we haven't built around yet. We always thought that was a fairly safe validation. Not anymore. And it cost this group $25 million to discover that. We keep hearing about the election that's coming up and how that's going to be influenced in profound ways between social media, deep fakes, fake news. Yep, that's going to happen. Social surveillance. It's going to be used if nefarious governments want to monitor everybody. We've seen that play out on TV and the big screen. Yep, it's becoming a reality as well. IP ownership was mentioned earlier. A lot of the copyright holders are now threatening, you can't use my works to train your AI. And that's in the courts now. Big lawsuits. It seemed like they may have a leg to stand on. But I just saw this that I was not expecting. Training generative AI models on copyrighted works is fair use. Look at who published this. The Association of Research Libraries. Not exactly the group you would think would be saying, yeah, that's fair use, when the authors are claiming this is going to destroy our livelihood. So very active topics going on right now. Security and privacy. Being told if you don't have a generative AI security policy, better get one in place. Another risk you hear about often with AI is repeatability, explainability, and just robustness. AI is essentially, it's kind of like the human brain. It's a black box composed of many little pieces, and it's the connections, in the neural network case, the weights that determine what it knows and how it behaves. but nobody can tease that out. Nobody can read it. And so you get these trillions of inputs, and then some magic happens, and you get the results. And kind of at a loss to explain it. And so you can get surprises, good and bad. But the fact is, it's a black box. And is that going to change? We'll see. But that's a risk right now. Hallucinations, that's another well-publicized one. But it's also one that it's like shiny keys, distraction. It's going to get better quickly. Nevertheless, it is still a real issue. I'll close with this risk that I see as one of the greatest risks that we face, our children, our grandchildren face, and that is this 3-word quote from Charles Eames many years ago. He didn't know about AI, but the quote rings so true right now. He said, never delegate understanding. You can delegate a lot of stuff, but never delegate understanding. That's one of the biggest risks. If we don't understand how to use it, if we don't understand how to interact with it productively, safely, then we're going to be like the teenage kid that is a checkout cashier and they don't know how to make change because they just do whatever the computer says. They've delegated understanding of what's actually going on. This is going to be one of our big education challenges for children, as well as all of the workers that are going to need reskilled and upskilled. So those are some of the risks. There will be more that emerge. Recognizing the risks, we should still boldly press ahead and think about, okay, how do we evaluate this inevitable, powerful technology that's coming out? Again, one of the really important topics for today, and that is a framework for how to think about how it can help you, whether that's you, the individual, you, the organization. I think here's 2 really strong ways to think about that. One is internal. So how can AI help you become more productive, create better outcomes, whether that's quality, creativity, etc.? Or I would argue that one of your objectives should be to have more fun, remove the drudgery, and that's what machines are great at. The first months I was interacting with ChatGPT, I'd feel guilty about asking it to rewrite something. Hey, can you warm it up? Because I know how much work that takes. I call ChatGPT my savant assistant. It just tirelessly, repeatedly helps you. So think about how it can help you internally. And then as an organization, how can it enhance your products or services? How can you make a better client experience for your clients? So how do we do it at Next Thought? I'll show some of our examples. More productive. Every team in our company uses it to help them become more productive. Those are some of the ways. Better results, quality, creativity. Definitely more fun because it takes away so much drudgery. We also use it externally. I'm going to show you a sneak peek at one of the new products that we are about to start releasing and sharing with clients. We're off the charts excited about it. And create a better client experience. We should not use it if it's going to worsen our products or our client experiences. Next question. That's clear. You still have to be mindful of the issues and risks and carefully review things before you just blindly do it. Here's one little product that we did this is University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We were bidding a project for them, and it's not a huge project, but it was for a 4th grade education piece for the Hoover Dam, obviously one of the showpieces in Nevada. And they asked us to do a demo. Well, normally our answer is always, thanks, understand why you would want that, but it takes too much time and effort. Well, in this case, we said yes. Our head of video said, yeah, I'm going to do that because I want to try out some of these new AI tools. And so here's what he made. What it would have normally taken is 40 hours or so. This took 4 hours, and it was our first attempt with some of these tools, and this is what it resulted in.
Going through tough times in this Great Depression? Why not earn some dough building one of America's greatest public works projects, the Hoover Dam? Sure, it's a bit dangerous, but you need the money. Bring your hard hat to Nevada and help us construct a part of history.
One of the reasons, this was for me one of the biggest things we did last year. It's a 15-second little demo piece. But what it demonstrated was that it took the creative power and thought of our team and magnified it. And so it's fun, it's beautiful, it gets across a key message in a very short amount of time. We would not have done it if we weren't equipped with these new tools. And so the most important thing for me is seeing how these tools magnify the human capabilities, what's special about humans. That's how we want to think about these, just like we do with any tool. It should magnify, it should extend what's special, what's amazing. So we've been working on coming up with how can we harness some of these new tools beyond video, beyond interactives, beyond virtual reality, how can we harness AI for this? And so one of the things that you have to deal with when you're dealing with the public is the angry client. And the way that we train for this is either you don't train or maybe you do role playing, and that's hard and expensive and nobody likes to do it, or usually you learn in the field. This is one of those important things you'd like to learn ahead of time and let people practice. And so we put together this little module, and what we wanted to show off was the AI created the angry client scenario. Before that, Ashley used the AI to help craft the rubric that we would use to grade the scenario, then to build the parameters that would describe the scenario. But all of what you're going to hear is done by the AI, and then our employee acting like a driver that's practicing how do you deal with an angry client. And so it's all organic, and it's made up in real time. Now, you could use pre-canned scenarios if you want. The AI will have an angry customer comment. Our employee will respond to the angry client, and then the AI will grade how he did. And so it's serving as a mentor, a teacher, a coach that's private just for you. And so to give you a glimpse of where this stuff's going. So here's the success criteria. Did you demonstrate understanding? Did you communicate empathetically? And then problem solving. So that's our criteria.
I am really frustrated. Some of the glass items in the package you delivered are broken. I can't believe this happened again. This is the second time I've had issues with broken items in my orders. It's unacceptable. I rely on these deliveries to stock my store, and now I have to deal with damaged goods. This is a huge inconvenience for me and my business. I expect better service and more care when handling fragile items like this. I need a resolution ASAP.
Okay. The whole script was generated by the AI, and then AI text to audio even added all the intonations. This is a huge inconvenience. The AI did all of that. the punctuate, everything was AI generated. And so now let's hear how our driver trainee performs. And again, all this is voice moderated.
Listen, you got your package, right? Contact the person you ordered it from and ask for a replacement. This isn't my problem.
All right. I think we kind of know how the AI is going to grade it, but let's see. So you see it does the transcription, it submits it to the AI, and then it gives you a grade once we submit it. All right, so 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10. And it even gives customized feedback for you and for your interaction on this brand new novel scenario that's never existed before. The potential for this is just enormous when you think about how you can apply this to every area of education. And then very quickly, one last one.
I can't believe the state of my package when it finally arrived. The box was completely soaked, and some of the glassware inside is shattered. This is not what I expected from your delivery service, especially for delicate items like these. I trusted you to handle this with care, but it seems like my package was just thrown around in the rain.
I apologize for the state of the package. Unfortunately, the weather proved a bit of a problem for me. Let me talk to my supervisor and see if I can get you a refund or perhaps an expedited replacement for your order. We'll also work to handle your package with care in the future, or at least try to improve how we handle it in times of inclement weather. Again, apologies. Please let us know how else we can make this right.
All right. Well, the AI liked that one a lot better, 26 out of 30. So just to recap, AI is a big deal. We showed that the impact is incredibly broad. It's incredibly accessible and scalable. And those things make it inevitable because the risk that I usually start with on AI is the risk of ignoring it. If you ignore it, then you're going to lose the productivity and the power that it confers, and those that are using it will outcompete, outperform, and they'll win. There are risks if you do use it. See the long list. Again, this is the nature of all new powerful technologies. Nothing new in that regard. And then how you can get started. Think about your internal goals. How do I become more productive, have better results, have more fun? External goals. How can it benefit our clients, enhance our products and services? And then get on with the next steps, learning about it and assessing and planning. Lastly, never delegate understanding. Don't let everyone else figure it out and just blindly follow what the computer told you. Humans have to stay in charge, and the computers are working to raise the barrier. Take a brief moment and ponder an Oklahoma sunrise. This is the dawn of a new day in Oklahoma, what we get to enjoy out here. This is the dawn of a new era in human and technology and how we coexist. And so seize this moment. These are the moments of great opportunity. It's a great frontier. We know about frontiers in Oklahoma. And so seize this moment. Just be careful. Thank you.